Hello. Let's begin. Now, who would you say is or was a leader of Judaism?
Well, one of the great biblical leaders of Judaism, well, there are a bunch of patriarchs. You start out with Abraham, who almost sacrificed his son Isaac and began the covenant with God and circumcision. And then you got Moses with the Ten Commandments, once again pulling the Jews away from idol worship, very important. And so those are the early ones, and then there's a long list of others.
Okay. What are the basic beliefs or teachings of Judaism?
Well, Judaism is a religion of laws and ethics, rules to live by, and rules about how to be good. So they basically have to do with morality and faith too, but it's not a faith-based religion. It's more about doing good and living the right way.
Now, where do most of the followers live, and how large would you say is Judaism?
Well, as a religion, it doesn't, percentage-wise, among the world religions, it ranks very low. And most Jews are scattered all over the world. There are Jews in China, there are Jews in almost a lot of India, there are Jews in Canada, there are a lot of Jews in the U.S., and of course Israel has its own concentration. And there are Jews in Europe too, but not in very large numbers.
Now, where and when would you say Judaism began?
Well, Judaism, it's interesting. We saw an interesting movie about that, the archaeological roots of Judaism, in our adult ed class at Bethlehem, and it's speculated that early Canaanites, so that's in the Mideast, I think that's in present-day Israel, is it not? Yes. Were, a farming community that began to pull away from the idea of polytheism, worshipping a lot of gods, which was the norm of the time, and started moving towards monotheism, towards a one God. And that was probably around the time of Abraham. So what are we talking about? Like 1500 BC, something like that. So Before that. Because I guess...
the Exodus from Egypt was about 1250.
Right, the Exodus from Egypt was 1250, so it's before that, clearly. And the Hebrew Bible we don't have... the first writers of the Hebrew Bible were around 1000 BC, something like that, 800.
No. Okay. Now, how would you say Judaism spread?
Well, it spread a lot because of the diaspora, because wherever Jews were persecuted, or expelled from a country, they had to go and find a new place to live. One of the first expulsions from Israel was to Babylonia. So Jews were scattered across the Mideast, and then following that, they just scattered wider and wider, depending on which crisis sort of compelled them to travel or move.
Interesting. Name holy places, holy people, or holy books, if any.
Holy places, well, Israel. You got Jerusalem. I mean, you can't get much more holy than Jerusalem for the Jewish people. And what were the other holy people? You named Moses, Abraham.
And the last one was holy books.
And holy books. The holy books are the Pentateuch, the 5 books of the Torah, and the interpretations, the Mishnah. There's a lot of mysticism and Kabbalah and all that. But I don't think that's the mainstream currency of what's taught in Hebrew school. You haven't learned about it, have you? But there are modern holy men amongst the ultra-Orthodox, beginning with the Hasidic movement. There's the Baal Shem Tov, then going all the way up to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. So there's lots of tzaddik, sort of holy, learned men who are considered saintly.
I see.
Reform Jews don't revere them probably in the same way that the Orthodox do.
Interesting.
There you go.
Why do you think people follow this religion?
Well, the Jewish religion it's not dying out, but it's become, people follow it because they're from that background. But there are a number of converts to Judaism, either because they've married into it and their spouses feel strongly about it, or because the ethical and moral teachings of Judaism appeal to them in a level. It's not at all what you would call a metaphysical type of religion in the way that Catholicism is. There's not a lot of, there are symbols. You've got your lulav, your etrog, you've got the menorah, but they're not seen as holy in and of themselves. So some people really like that kind of concrete, mystical significance attached to things, but you don't get that in Judaism. So for people who don't like that, Judaism's a great religion. For people who crave that, Catholicism is much better for you.
I see. Are there problems that the followers of this religion face today?
Yeah, assimilation is one, because there's a lot of intermarriage. And I think I think a lot of people don't like the danger that's associated with being a Jew, or the danger of being, people being prejudiced against you, or anti-Semitism still looms large in a lot of places. So, some people that's frightening for. The consequences of that are very real, certainly. It's from World War II, but I don't know. There are lots of dangers, from anti-Semitism to ennui.
I see. And lastly, how would you say this religion shaped or influenced the development of a region or nation?
You mean our nation?
Any
or
nation.
Any particular nation? Well, Jewish culture has been very important to intellectual thought in the 20th century, from everyone from Freud to Einstein. There are a lot of books that have been written speculating about how the outsider status of a Jew enabled them to think differently, like Steve Jobs, think different. It came naturally to people like Freud or Einstein or some of the other great thinkers of the 20th century. And then there's Hollywood and entertainment, and I think that am I getting into trouble here? But the Jewish influence has been huge in American culture, for sure.
All right, thank you for your time.
There you go.